Hello, I'm Marjorie Hash and welcome to France 24's weekly music show. Now, American alternative rock band The Eels formed in California and rose to fame in the 90s with albums like Beautiful Freak and Electroshock Blues. Their music has been described as melancholy pop, but often serves as a perfect antidote for heartbreak and depression. Although they may be a little more discreet these days when it comes to mainstream charts, the band are still festival favourites. We caught up with a songwriter and frontman Mark Oliver Everett, aka E, to chat about the new record, Earth To Dora. Hello, E. Thank you very much for joining us on the Encore show from your home in Los Angeles. How are things over there?
Bonjour. Things are weird here, just like they are there and everywhere.
Yeah? And what about the US in particular? You've got a big presidential election coming up next week on the 3rd. What's the mood like in relation to that, and what's your mood?
Oh, is the election coming up? I wasn't aware of that. I better go vote. No, I already voted. It's crazy. You know, it's scary. I don't know what to expect. I'm hoping for the best, but even if the best happens, it still could be crazy. So, you know, just crossing our fingers.
Yeah. Ahead of this election, you're releasing the Eels' 13th studio album, Earth To Dora. Now, most of the record was composed well before the COVID-19 pandemic brought a lot of the world to a standstill, with the exception of one track, Are We All Right Again, which was written in the midst of confinement. What was it like fitting that song with the other tracks, which were probably written in different moods?
Well, you know, if I had made the album after the pandemic hit and all the other stuff that's happened this year, it would probably be a very different album. But maybe that's the next album. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Does your connection to your music change once it's released, and how weird is it for you?
Yeah, I mean, the fun part is making the music, and then everything after that is sort of the opposite of fun. You know, it's no fun putting music out for me, really. I just like making it. So it's always like, I can't wait to get to making it again.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about we check out that dreamy lockdown, that single, Are We All Right Again?
Okay.
Are we all right again? Are we around the bend? Am I lucky or brave? Are you stronger today? Are we all right again? Yeah, I think we're all right.
A track you can find on the new Eels album. Now, obviously, the pandemic has also complicated things when it comes to making music videos, although you have treated your fans to lyric videos to which they can sing along to.
Baby, you're a full meal. The way you make me feel, it's kind of a big deal. Baby, let's make it real.
How much more stressful has it been for you as an artist releasing an album during a global pandemic?
Well, the worst part about it for us is we can't go on tour. We had big plans to start touring soon, and obviously that can't happen. So that's the hard part. And then, you know, there was some discussion like, should we not put the album out now and wait till we can go on tour? But I just thought, well, people still need music, and maybe now more than ever. So we've got music, so let's give it to them.
To be prepared. Are you who I think you are? Someone I'll know for long.
Did you indulge in some live stream gigs during the lockdown period? I know a lot of artists did, and some absolutely hated it, whilst others felt a real connection with their fans.
You know, I'm not a big fan of it so far. It just feels so like sterile, and it kind of depresses me because it just reminds you, you know, what we can't really do. But if we come up with, you know, some interesting ways to do it, or some ways that feel like it'll be fun, then we'll probably do something.
Hmm. Now you're a pretty resilient person, and this album feels like it's got a lot of cheerleading going on. Notably, your track "Earth To Dora," in which you encourage a friend who seems to have given up hope not to. And I suppose this message could be extended to the world. There's a lot of reasons for which we should try and keep our chins up, isn't there?
Well, that song, it was inspired. I was texting with an old friend of mine, Dora, who used to work on the Eels crew. She did our lighting for some tours, and she was going through a hard situation, and I was just trying to cheer her up. And then I thought, a lot of this stuff here that I'm texting here could be song lyrics, and maybe I can cheer up some more people in the process if I turn it into a song. So I think it's the first case of inspiration by text for me.
Yes, well, that seems like something a lot of us want. There's a theme in your album about knowing that things or bad times will pass. There's also a lot of songs about falling in love, that complicated moment at the start of a relationship where you're not sure what the other person wants, and also recovering from getting hurt, themes that will no doubt resonate with a lot of people. Do you get a lot of fan messages still about those sort of things?
I don't know. I mean, it's one of the nice things about writing songs like that is, you're usually doing it for yourself, or in the case of like Earth To Dora, for someone and then this nice like byproduct is if other people you don't know can get something out of it. That's such a great feeling.
One of your songs, which has got a really nice build-up and melody in it, is about wondering if your partner is engaging in sexual activity with a former lover. And here in France, there's an expression that some people use, which is that hooking up with an ex is like swallowing back down your own vomit. It can be acid. What do you think of that?
Oh, that's really good. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I'm happy to report that song is not autobiographical. Not all my songs are autobiographical. About half of them are, really, probably. And that one was inspired from having a conversation with a friend of mine, and the topic got onto sexual frustration at some point, and I asked her how she deals with it, and she said, "I f***ed my ex." And I was like really taken aback I wasn't expecting that answer. But then, as a songwriter, I've always got my lightning rod out looking for interesting song ideas. I thought, I don't feel like I've heard that song, so I just thought, that might be fun to get into the mind of a jealous, suspicious person. That's my idea.
And finally, are there any resilient tips you could give people?
I think it's important at times like this to always try to focus on the good things in your life. It could always be worse, about a month ago, I was starting to get pretty down about the pandemic situation and all the other craziness and injustices that are going on this year. And then that night there was a big earthquake here in California, and it was quite scary. And then I suddenly missed the day before, and I was like, I missed when it was just a pandemic. And not a pandemic and an earthquake. So it could always be worse.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to France 24E. Remember, the new album of the Eels, Earth To Dora, is available this week.
Thank you.
I came up at the rocket launch, the trophy wives of the astronauts, and I won't listen to their words, 'cause I like birds. If you're small and on a search, I got a feeder for you to perch on.
Time now for a look at other new releases. We're going to stay in with the cool rockers with good specs. Elvis Costello is not only releasing a snazzy box set of his 1979 classic, Armed Forces, full of B-sides, lyrics and rarities, he's also dropping his 31st studio album, Hey Clockface, an album for which he sought inspiration from the mid-1930s music, and on which you can also find some punky pop noir and some spoken word, as well as swinging tracks like this one.
Darkness fell upon people, blotting out the sun, disguising how we're all cowards now.
And apparently most of the recording relied on spontaneous interaction between Costello and his session musicians. It was recorded pre-lockdown in Helsinki and in Paris's Saint-Germain studios, as well as in New York City. Now moving over to the world of French-speaking hip-hop, or should I say trap R&B pop, Marie-Pierre Kakomo, aka Luce and the Yakuzas, was born in the DRC and grew up between Belgium and Rwanda. The 24-year-old has just released her first album called Gore, a nod to the difficult times she faced when her parents kicked her out for refusing to study medicine because she wanted to be a singer. The record is produced by El Guincho, who has worked with Björk and Spain's flamenco hip-hop artist Rosalia.
Rouler, rouler dans la caisse, penser vivre à toute vitesse. Rouler, rouler dans la caisse, rouler, rouler dans la caisse. Tout est gars, qui finit gars, il est écrit sur mon corps. J'ai raison, tu as tort. Tout est gars, 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 qui finit gars, il est écrit sur mon corps. J'ai raison, tu as tort. Tout est gars, tout est gars, tout est gars, tout est gars, tout est gars.
And that's it for this week's music show. France 24's latest news bulletin is coming up shortly. You can find Encore on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. And of course, our website, france24.com. Feel free to join us. We're going to play out the show with Sam Smith. Now, the gender queer Grammy Award winning artist is back with a third album, Love Goes. The album features the likes of Demi Lovato, Burna Boy, Calvin Harris, to name but a few. If you like pop-infused, helpless love ballads and a very pretty voice, this is likely to be your thing.